So we have Drew, because I always tell Drew, yeah, I want you to come on. I want you to come. And I always forget about Drew. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
All right. Listen, it's going to be a part two to, first of all, Yellowstone and Russia, Putin, or whatever, because it is history and context that, yes, I mean, I do like that you give a historical context to it, which is very important. But for the sake of the time of the show to move it along, we kind of like, have to keep it short. So what I want to move on to next, we all know about East Palestine, Ohio, with the train derailment. And while some today, Judge Drew, and it smelled funny in the air, I'm starting to be so extra paranoid. But yesterday, Trump visited East Palestine. Yes, he did, honey. Ohio train derail response a portrayal. So this is Trump in Ohio. I heard he bought the people Big Macs and fresh water. I will eat a Big Mac, yes. But he did walk along the site and he gave a press conference, brief 5-minute speech. And he let, the firefighters community come up and speak or whatever. And I'm glad he went. He Buttigieg broke his silence finally today or yesterday. And then I believe his ass showed up in Ohio yesterday. Now, yes, he is Secretary of Transportation. He is not Secretary of EPA. It does not matter. Transportation, trains, planes, automobiles. So you could have showed your ass up last week, even whether it's your job or not. Show your face. Show your face. Yeah, this is some speaking in Ohio. So listen, and then you talk about Ohio, that small town, they love Trump there, whatever. So, and we all know he's a marketing genius. So this was good for his campaign. What are your thoughts on Trump being in Ohio?
Good. And right now, yesterday, Department of Transportation issued a statement saying that it was hot bearings that caused this. It had been put out with brakes, but what did I say several days ago? I said, what's going on is you have hot bearings because the cold weather is reducing the tolerances. They are heating up to the point that they will eventually cause combustion of flammables that are in their area, which is what you saw from the trackside videos that had been going on for miles. The temperature spiked, the things locked up, caused the derailment. There are 2 other derailments that have occurred since under similar circumstances, and that is a failure of oversight when it comes to railway safety. Somebody let the country down at the top. The plan under Obama was to get rid of human supervision, install computer monitoring, which apparently actually occurred here, but they didn't realize how bad it was because when it didn't spike until close to the point of the derailment, when the crew had now developed tried to rapidly stop the train because these bearings had overheated. It was 5 miles worth of sparking and flames coming out before it showed up. Now, that's this thing about trying to get rid of people, because if you look at a train going down the track in your town where you live, notice you do not see a caboose. No Mark 1 eyeballs at the back of the train.
Some people were saying that when you said it in the last video, like that was like, that's old time stuff.
And you remember when you used to walk into your utility or phone company and somebody actually waited on you, and now you got to dial the number, press 1 if, 2 if, you get the 9 and you still haven't heard anything that dealt with what you need. Press star if you want this menu repeated. So who the hell do you talk to? So you're on the phone 35 minutes, you still haven't talked to anybody that can solve your problem. You haven't even talked to anybody. Mark 1 eyeballs are good, and it is a deplorable situation where you try to put all these humans out of work like we do here. And what do you do with them? Well, you send them to jail. So that's a nice little tight solution, but it's not cool. We need to deal with the fact that there are people who need jobs. There are people who need to have these jobs because mechanization and computerization do not always deal with what people can deal with.
Well, of course, if Joy Behar from The View, and of course, and MSNBC commentator, journalist, whatever, gave some backlash to Trump being in Ohio. I just want to play this 20-second clip. I knew it was going to play a commercial. Just give it a second. It says Joy Behar lashes out at East Palestine residents.
Deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who you voted for in that district. Donald Trump, who reduces all safety. He did.
Just like showed up at McDonald's and those voters saw something on the ground that probably resonates in a way that they need.
But they need to look past the photo ops, these people, and say who's.
So she's saying that she's blaming Trump because it
was under the Bush, the Biden administration that these things got ended. So, and nothing came up that replaced them. So how is she blaming Trump? This is just flip the script bull.
She's saying that I don't know why they would ever vote for him. Somebody who, by the way, he placed someone with deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who.
So who got Buttigieg in there, and what was his qualifications to run railroad safety? He's never had a course in it, class in it, any experience in it, any job in it. So who put him over there? See, that's what you call one of these glamour appointments. Why are you putting him in there? Not because he's capable, but because you get social brownie points for it, political brownie points. You're not putting the person in there for their expertise.
Drew, did you want to comment?
Yeah. The thing about automated stuff and higher technology where they don't have human connection to it, where they don't have the mind of the pilot or the mind of the driver or the instincts of the driver, was something that's been talked about for a very long time. And they said you can make these, they were talking about
other big
driving the diesel trucks, without drivers and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but they don't have the instincts of a driver. And the computer system is probably not going to respond in the way that a human driver would, or notice things, and that's kind of the trippy part about it. We've known about artificial intelligence getting smart enough to do certain things, but not all things. And at the same time, we have to be careful not to make artificial intelligence smarter than us, or else we end up with the Terminator situation, if you guys get my reference. I know Judge does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the X-47B that the Navy was trying to turn into an AI attack craft, not a drone. And they said, whoa, we're going Terminator on it. So they switched the function from being an attack vehicle to a tanker, to refuel carrier aircraft. So you teach it to land. But here's where the thing comes in. These cars that drive themselves, they're programmed to protect the passenger and the occupants, okay? Child runs out between two cars. Do you sacrifice the child to protect the occupants, or do you sacrifice the occupants to protect the child? See, that's a split-second call that requires human instinct to be involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the computer will protect the driver and will not protect the kid. Yeah.
Well, we all know that by now that the chemicals did get into Ohio River. Apparently, the portion of the Ohio River that's in Cincinnati, Ohio, was a reporter who threw a rock in the river and it was bubbles because, it's chemicals in there. So, it needs to be a spotlight constantly on East Palestine. I know these people want to get back to their regular lives, but you want to make sure that the cleanup gets done,
Okay.
And no one isn't being taken for granted or lied to, that everyone is doing their job.
Okay. See this? It's made out of PVC. No big deal. they punctured these cars supposedly to stop an explosion because it was supposed to be a liquid version of this stuff in it. It's called polyvinyl chloride, PVC. What was in it was vinyl chloride that had not yet been made into this stuff. This stuff is one thing. Vinyl chloride is extremely poisonous. And the last damn thing you do is burn it. Because when you burn it, what happens is you take all the moisture out of the atmosphere or in the groundwater when it gets exposed to it, and you form hydrochloric acid. Concentrated hydrochloric acid will dissolve iron, amongst other things. So you just don't do that. So when one car was leaking, 4 other ones weren't. They were talking about, oh, this car caught on fire, so our lame excuse is to keep the other cars from exploding. We put punctures in them, let this extremely viscous substance hit the ground, seep down very quickly into the subsoil, go into the groundwater, get into the rivers, and we compound it by setting it on fire, which is the worst damn thing you do. See, railroad safety demanded that this company, this rail company, have available safety equipment to handle such emergencies. It didn't, because what was demanded was to carefully and hermetically seal up some pump devices to the remaining tanks, not puncture them and pump them into safe hermetically sealed tanks, but they didn't have that safety equipment. Did the railway company lie to the fire department so they became complicit in supervising the burn of these substances under the mistaken belief that if they did not, they were likely to generate an explosion? Well, they did about the same thing when they controlled the burn after puncturing these other 4 cars. And to compound it, we had another derailment. This time, I think it was up in New Jersey. And then we had a third derailment with the same situations. The extremely dense, heavy load in the cold weather causing problems with the bearings on the wheels and the brakes. They overheat because the tolerances are reduced. The safety inspections have been allowed to languish, and it's a real live mess. And again, there's no safety equipment to deal with transferring these very dangerous chemicals into a safe holding device. So we got a mess.
Big mess.
And the nincompoops that were supposed to be running this had no clue. So what are they doing running it? In other words, that's like happened under another administration some years ago. The federal judge that got appointed by that president hadn't been out of law school a year and a half. Somebody else appointed who was a governor, a person who had been sworn into the bar 4 days as a circuit court trial judge. Yeah. See, in other words, you don't care about the people. You're trying to be politically correct rather than worrying about functionality. Can somebody actually do this? Right. And Buttigieg needs to resign because he's just let the country down because it was over his head. And he doesn't need to be learning at the public safety expense.
Right, I want to move on.
Don't judge him, Joe Brown.